Hello, welcome to jellymantis.exe. Today we're going to work on another installment of the Dwarven Chest conversion. Today we're going to be mainly focusing on the design aspect of things, but we're also going to print out all of our templates and hopefully begin carving. So if you recall our old router, we had Operation 50 as sanding and Operation 60 as carving. Now there's no magic that happens in between there. That's actual work that we need to do. And that's why we list out our steps in increments of 10 in case we need to add additional steps in between our router. We can easily just slide them in. So a couple of steps that slipped my mind originally but are now coming to head is the design process. We need to figure out what design we're actually going to put on the box. We can't just go in there and freehand carve the box with just inspiration that just flows through us. Well, maybe we could. We need to come up with a design structure of what designs are going to go where on the box, how big they're going to be, what are they going to look like. And then finally, 52, print and prep. What we need to do is print out whatever we design, affix it to the box with either tape or ticky tack or something that will kind of hold it in place, and we can kind of see what the box will look like. We'll get it all prepped up, maybe give it another sanding if we need to, and then we'll be ready for step 60, carving. And then we'll continue on our router. What I'm doing here is looking at each piece of the chest and determining which parts I want to carve, which means they'll need to be designed. I'm writing it down as a list to help when we begin measuring. So now that we have all the areas listed out that we want to carve or maybe want to carve, we need to get measurements for each area. That way when we put it into Photoshop and we kind of design something up, we're going to actually print it to scale exactly how it's going to look on the box. That way we can just tape it straight onto the box and kind of begin carving from that. So let's measure each of these and let's see what we come up with. A lot of the original audio for this clip is me doing a lot of talking out loud, brainstorming kind of dimensions or how I want things to look. So I went ahead and just time-lapsed it for everybody's sake. You can see here that I'm just gathering all the dimensions and writing them down, and then we're going to take that into Photoshop later to refine it. Okay, let's try to make some sense out of this. I'm confused, you're confused, we're all confused. Here's the dimensions. Bam. Hopefully that makes more sense. Let's get this out of the way. Here is our top lid, dimensions, bam. Right? Okay. We've got our box, dimensions, bada boom. Hopefully that clears everything up and we're all on track. So now that we have all of our dimensions for each side of the box that's going to get carving, I just took those dimensions into Photoshop and I made blank canvases using those dimensions. So I've already done a little bit of the design process off camera, and I'll go ahead and show you what I've come up with. So I have each blank canvas template saved as its own file in Photoshop with the dimensions that we measured out. And I'm going to show you the designs that I've kind of come up with. The first one's going to be on the box, and it's on the back side of it. And I found this cool Deathic or Dwarvish font. If I typed in exe space, it makes this nice dwarvish kind of border. So we're going to run with that theme and put it on the box and the lid. So this is the back side of the box. It's just going to have kind of that border around the top. And then we're going to have, our buckles are going to be wrapped around the back. So that might be it as far as carving the back side of the box. And here we have the short side of the box, right, which is going to be the sides. And I've just kind of continued on that pattern kind of along the shorter side of the box. And remember, we're going to have our handles here. So I don't want to put like a big gawky design in the middle because it might just get covered up by the handles. Now on the box side that has the wavy kind of length to it, right? So the front side of the box will have this EXE pattern. And then I'm also going to have a giant negative impression of a dwarvish kind of braid that I found. I just like the angular kind of braid of it. It's nice and squared off. So wherever you see the black is where we're going to carve out, and the white will be standing in a positive. Moving on to the lid, we're kind of doing more of the same, just around the entire length of the lid. We're just going to have this EXE dwarvish border along the long side of the lid, the short side of the lid, and even on the wavy side. So just all around the top, it'll be wrapped with the EXE pattern. As for the top of the lid, this was probably the most complicated part of it, but I measured out where exactly I want our belt grooves to be, and I measured the thickness of the buckles that I have, and I went ahead and added some more shapes here. So these red rectangles are 2 1/8 inches from the edge of the lid, and then that's where our belt grooves will start. And our belt was about 3/8 of an inch, so that's how wide we'll cut our grooves. And as for the center of the box, I'll go ahead and remove the dimensions here. For the center of the lid, so when you're looking at it from a top-down view, I just want to put a large Deathic letter Z, just front and center. So far we have like a large letter Z in the center of the lid with our 2 belt grooves going along the side. And then I also wanted to add some kind of side text or just a little more detail. You know, the top of the lid is probably what you're going to see the most, so we want to have that looking pretty cool. So I've added some text in Deathic that says "Open at own risk," and I went ahead and mirrored it facing the other direction. So no matter which way you're facing the chest, you know that opening it is at your own risk. And I think this will make a nice kind of face for our box, right? The top of the lid, that's where you want all your detail, or most of your detail. And I think this is a good kind of design to get us started. On the long side of our interior tray, so the longer dimension, I'm going to go ahead and add in that dwarvish braid again. But this one's a bit more narrow. It'll kind of stretch the length of the box. And that'll be on the longer side. On the shorter side, I went ahead and added some text in Deathic, and I wanted it to say roll zone, because this is where you're going to be rolling your dice, right? And that's specifically what it's for. And if I convert that to Deathic, it looks something like this, which I thought looks cool. So on the short side of our trays, we'll have this text, and on the longer side, it'll be a nice long kind of braided pattern. I put together this cute little concept art of what I think the carvings on the box and the tray will look like. Now, of course, this is not to scale, really. You know, the front of the box kind of has that wave to it, and the tray is going to fit in there perfectly. But this kind of just gives you an idea of the work that we're going to be doing. It is now time for the most exciting portion of this entire project: printing! I took the paper to my paper trimmer and began trimming paper. It didn't have to be exact, we just needed the template to fit onto the side of the box. So what I'm going to do now is take all of our little scraps and all of our little templates for each side of the box, and I'm actually going to use some Scotch tape and mask it onto the box. This is a method I've used in the past for hand carving designs. I print out these templates in black and white and I tape them onto the object. I then use a Dremel tool to cut away where the black design is, and that gives me a rough idea of where to start. You'll see footage of this shortly, but this is the best way I found for using custom templates. I once tried making stencils using cardstock and spray paint the stencil design onto the box and then carve away wherever the paint stayed, but hand cutting these designs into cardstock and then carving them away with a Dremel was like doing the work twice and didn't provide great results. So I'm curious to see what ideas you have. Let me know in the comments of things I can try. As we move on to the carving step, I wanted to show you close up the method that I'm using. I'm using a Dremel ball tool to outline the black portions of the design, and it cuts through the paper and onto the wood. This is by no means exact, but it will give us a rough outline to begin with, and we will go over all of our lines again with additional detail and deeper cuts. You'll notice in these first couple clips I'm not wearing a respirator. I realize the error of my ways, and I do remedy the situation eventually. I begged forgiveness from the safety gods and they obliged, so I placed a respirator on my face. You'll also notice some info around the screen. Up here I'll put details of what exactly I'm working on, and down here I'll put the time remaining until I do some sort of big reveal or change clips. That way if you want to skip ahead through all this annoying mosquito buzzing sounds, you can. As you can see, I've removed the paper templates and we're left with a rough outline of the shapes that we need to refine further. After about 30 minutes of inhaling sawdust, I finally put on my respirator. Again, the template is only there to provide me with a rough idea of where the shapes need to go. I'll go over these again freehand with a bigger ball tool. Yeah, give the camera a thumbs up. With an hour and 10 minutes of carving under your belt, you haven't even truly begun.